In the past, humanity has operated from what might be termed a tribalized social process. That's not a problem. That's not a statement that anyone's ever done or been anything that they shouldn't have been. That's not a thing to feel bad about or have any shame about. The past of humanity is the past of humanity. That said, we recognize that egoless and non-tribal collaboration for the common good and as a superordinate or higher goal for all of us to operate from in a well-organized way is what is now necessary. And we want to communicate anybody can learn to do this. Anybody can. They need only choose to, as we said earlier, the Nike slogan of just do it is applicable here. Once we choose to consciously collaborate, egolessly collaborate, from that point on, it's just a process of learning to do so. It's of learning to uh, be self-motivating, self-inspiring, self-encouraging on the path, and patting ourselves on the back for every positive step we make in that regard. So this is not the current norm socially, politically, economically, and we understand that. And that doesn't mean we can't do it. It doesn't mean it's not necessary. It doesn't mean that we will not achieve our goals. It just means that there's a lot of good work to do. It's a creative process, a co-creative process, and we are accomplishing it together. And so validating your achievements on an ongoing basis is so vitally important. Every step you take in the direction of conscious collaboration in our world is a step out of dysfunctional, non-sustainable past into sustainable, functional future. So in order for climate change resolution to occur, we feel these three pillars of the process are key and core to that being achieved. Individual and collective emotional caring, embodied individual and collective caring, and trust building. Right now, the world is a very skeptical place. There's lots of judgments. The world would optimally be served by everyone loving everyone else right now. That might seem like the most innocuous statement in the world. And that said, anybody operating from ego and fear of that change might be able to say, oh, you're saying I'm failing as a human being. I hate you. Because human beings operate from root chakra duality, right, wrong, good, bad, safe, unsafe, live, die, or true, false. All of those dualistic positionalities are supportive of a judgmental, critical, interpretive, and reactive process and set of lenses that people operate from. So if we say there are 1 billion children at risk, we're stating a fact. Now, people don't like certain facts because they're uncomfortable to experience as reality. Just as if we say climate change is a reality, people might say, oh, you're just an activist and you're a hater of the good, kind, wonderful humanity of our planet. You're a hater of the history of humanity because you're saying that we're causing climate change. They could make that interpretation if they wanted to. That doesn't mean that we hate anybody. It doesn't mean that hate is a part, or judgment at all is a part of this process. And that said, is that reactivity of judgmentalness or criticism of any messaging that requires change to occur in our world, or suggests that change is necessary, or 1 billion children could be at risk, or according to the current the IPCC report on climate change, there are give or take 3.6 billion people on our planet that are in the very near term potentially not going to have drinkable water. Now, that's not fear mongering, that's a fact. Certainly, when people become afraid, they feel uncomfortable and they don't like feeling afraid. That doesn't mean that's not a fact. It doesn't mean that there's not something that we can do. We're not powerless to make the world a better place. It does mean that without information, people can't make wise choices. So anybody who goes into a fear state and a self-judgmental state, like if they were to say, oh, if there's 1 billion children at risk, that means you're saying I'm a bad person. Or if there's 1 billion children at risk, that says my whole life up until now has been creating this situation, and I don't want to hear that, and I don't want to judge myself or feel shamed for that. So I'm going to attack the messenger, shoot the messenger, so to speak, because I don't like the message. Or try to invalidate the message and say, oh, you're fear mongering, or you're trying to make me afraid, or that's just fear-based thinking. And in that way, they create a self-obscuration, a way to hide and escape from the fact that there are 1 billion children at risk. So is that a knee-jerk, subconscious, unconscious reaction that many people might go through in our world? And it's totally understandable. They're not bad or wrong for having those fearful reactions or going into judgmental or critical modes or projective modes, projecting onto our messaging. Oh, you're just trying to strike fear in people. We're not trying to strike fear in anyone. We're doing our very best to nourish love in people and say, do you love those children enough to act? Yes or no? If we can help them get to a decision point, a choice point of taking action, constructive action, we will have succeeded. We will have done a good thing in the world, not by driving them out of fear or shame or guilt or self-judgment or any of those things, out of love. So if we're giving them the opportunity to love and care by telling them about these children that are at risk, we're not trying to instill fear in anybody. We're doing our best to instill love and care. So we hope that this offering to you folks of this optional messaging is important, because if you're talking to somebody that's a friend of yours or somebody that you know, and you say, did you hear on UNICEF said, this many months ago, 1 billion children are at severe risk for climate change. And they say, obviously, you're just trying to make me fearful and I hate you. Then you can turn to them and say, well, no, we apologize. We don't mean to trigger fear in you, or we're not trying to motivate anyone out of fear. We're doing our very best to suggest, if you understand that, you have the opportunity to love and care for those children. We're not even trying to tell you to take action. We just want you to be aware, so you'll be informed. Because if you're not informed, how can you take wise action? How can you make choices that are wise and discerning in our world?